On June 26th, OpenAI finished a model they wouldn't let you use. Not because it was broken, because it was too good at one specific thing: breaking into systems. So instead of shipping it to the world, they handed it to about 20 organizations in the US government, approved by name one at a time, and made everyone else wait behind a government cybersecurity review. Reporters at VentureBeat called it the first time an American frontier model got treated like a controlled export instead of a product launch. Today I'm taking you inside GPT 5.6, what it actually is, why it got locked in a government waiting room for 2 weeks, and the one feature buried in the release notes that changes how you build agents. And this is not the benchmarks recap, this is the builder's read. Here's how this breaks down. 3 parts: the family, meaning Sol, Terra, Luna, and why OpenAI split them the way that they did. Secondly, the gatekeeping, what the government actually saw. And thirdly, the part that matters most if you're building anything with agents right now, a new mode that lets the model spin up its own team of sub-agents, and the security build that comes with it.
Hey, I'm Johnny Null. I spent years building businesses the old hard way, managing teams, scaling operations, and doing everything manually. Today, everything I built, from automations and no-code infrastructures to fully AI SaaS products, has AI helping in one way or another.
Firstly, let me quickly show you this. In South Africa, we call this a braai.
I build with AI tools that, in my opinion, anyone can learn to use. My mission is simple: to help creators, entrepreneurs, and business owners get clarity with AI. Let's build smarter together and enjoy this video.
If all you take from this launch is GPT 5.6 is out, benchmarks went up, you've missed the actual shift. Capability is now outrunning the release process. The gate on this model wasn't a pricing tier for a market stunt. It was a security decision about who gets access first. OpenAI said it plainly in their own words. They don't believe this kind of government access process should become the long-term default because it keeps the best tools from the developers and cyber defenders who need them. And they apparently only took this step because they thought it was the fastest path to broad availability. Think about that for a second, specifically in relation to Fable 5 when Fable 5 released. Similar reasoning, yet the positioning still stayed very strong. A company doesn't argue against its own launch strategy, which tells you the gate was real. So here's the ground that moved under us. If you're optimizing for raw model IQ, chasing whoever posts the highest score this month, you're optimizing for the thing that's about to stop being the edge. The edge is moving somewhere else, and I'll show you exactly where. Let's look at my key point number 1. The names aren't marketing. They're a map. OpenAI did something quietly radical with this release. They split the generation from the capability. The number 5.6 is the generation. The name is a durable tier that moves on its own clock. For example, Sol is the flagship. Terra is the balanced everyday model, roughly GPT 5.5 class performance at about half Sol's costs. But according to DataCam's breakdown of the family, Luna is the fast, cheap option. And you might be thinking, but Johnny, why does this matter? Why does this matter to me? It's the one model to rule them all era is over. And they're telling you so in the product names. You don't pick a model anymore. You pick a tier per job. Classification, intent routing, moderation, summarization, that's Luna's work, for example. The one genuinely hard reasoning step in your pipeline earns its price. The builders who get this will run agents that will cost a fraction of what everyone else is paying. And the ones who don't will route everything to the flagship tier and wonder why their bill looks like a car payment. Point number 2. Why a government stepped in at all. Think about Fable 5 again. But OpenAI called Sol its most capable model yet for cyber work. Their phrasing is that it shifts the performance efficiency frontier for long horizon security tasks, including vulnerability research and exploitation. All 3 models carry the same safety ratings: high in cybersecurity, high in biological and chemical, and below the critical line. On the bio side, an independent evaluator, Secure Bio, concluded that the model could give real uplift to some actors, including wet lab experts without much computational background. Let's talk about the mechanism here, because this is the part that gets sensationalized. A model that can find vulnerability is by definition most of the way to a model exploit for it. For example, they can find the flaw, describe the flaw, weaponize the flaw. That's a short road. Use is the whole reason a review happened. The Commerce Department's Center for AI Standards and Innovation ran the evaluation, and OpenAI flew technical staff to Washington to answer questions. Worth one honest caveat for the record: a White House official pushback on the word clearance, saying no formal permission was technically required. So the gate was real, but who exactly held the key is murkier than the headline suggested. And I'd rather tell you that than pretend that it's clean. Point 3. What good cybersecurity actually means? Let's forget the movie version for a second. Sol is not a hooded genius that phases through firewalls. Heck, apparently it's not even at the same level as Fable 5, but what it actually did in testing is more boring and more useful to understand. Security researchers at Newell Trust, working through the system card, documented what it really did. It ran multi-day autonomous vulnerability research campaigns, generated real proof of concept inputs, and reached controlled exploitation primitives on a memory safety bug that the previous model couldn't push past a simple crash. And if I could provide you with the most important sentence of this entire video, it would be, it could not produce a working full chain exploit against a hardened target. OpenAI's own read is that the bottleneck is exploit development judgment. So the accurate mental model isn't a master burglar who walks off with the safe. It's a tireless junior researcher who finds every open window at the building fast and hands you the list, but still can't quite figure out how to climb through the tricky one. That distinction is everything. It's speed at recon and flaw finding, not autonomous end-to-end attack. Anyone telling you GPT 5.6 is a push-button hacker either isn't reading the system card or is selling you a fear. Let's look at point number 4. And this is the feature that actually matters. It is the Ultra mode. Buried under the safety headlines is the real story for builders. Sol adds 2 new controls. One is max reasoning effort, a deeper thinking budget. The other is Ultra mode, and Ultra mode is a big deal. It lets the model spawn its own parallel subagents. You give it one complex task, it decides how to split the work, runs multiple subagent processes at the same time, each handling a different piece, and returns one answer. Sit with what that means. The orchestration you used to own, the decompose tasks, spin up the workers, gather the results dance, now happens behind a single API. For those of us who've been hand building multi-agent pipelines with external frameworks, the model just absorbed a layer we used to write ourselves. One task becomes research, then draft, then verify as separate sub-agent runs, and you never wrote the router. It's a cost tell though. Every sub-agent burns tokens independently, so one Ultra call can cost several times a standard Sol. Power with a meter running. Think of it similar to Fable 5. When you start giving it, for example, a deep research task, it will spin up the amount of sub-agents it believes it needs in order to help you to achieve the goal faster and hopefully more intelligently. Very similar. Let's look at point number 5. Self-orchestrating agents widen the attack surface badly. The model spins up its own tree of sub-agents. You build a chain of trust, a chain that breaks at the weakest link. Independent security research from Augment Code on these architectures is blunt about it. In an orchestrator sub-agent setup, a single compromised agent can propagate malicious instructions to every downstream agent. If the orchestrator gets hijacked through indirect prompt injection, every sub-agent underneath it inherits the poisoned instruction set. So I can't emphasize this enough. Trust between agents can't be assumed, even inside your own deployment. Your agent reads a web page as part of its job. That page has hidden instructions buried in it. The orchestrator ingests it. It passes tasks down to 5 sub-agents. Now all 5 sub-agents are running the attacker's intent with your credentials. One poisoned input, a whole tree compromised. And this isn't a hypothetical fear-mongering statement. OWASP's 2026 report puts prompt injection as the fastest growing attack category, up by 340% year over year, and Google's researchers found a 32% jump in malicious injection payloads planted in web content in just 3 months. The web our agents are currently reading could be booby-trapped faster than most people's defenses are getting built. Right now, today, if you're running agents with the same broad permissions you set on day one, you have a tree of workers with access you never actually audited. And I know some of you are already doing the math on how to lock this down. Because point 5 is exactly the moment where you think, wait, what can my agents actually reach? So here's my suggestion to a potential solution. The GPT 5.6, the AI Founders Vault. This is where I share with you all the files, SOP, workflows, already built files with the MD files, etc. That with the exact permission tier configuration I run on all of my own boxes. So one poison web page can't turn your whole agent tree against you. Plus the model routing setup that keeps your token bull from quietly 5xing the first time you learn on Ultra. 2 fears this video has highlighted, and 2 of these things we've already solved, all sitting inside of the AI Founders Vault, alongside so much more, as well as a community of like-minded builders and non-technical founders doing this all together. The link is down in the description below. I do invite you to allow yourself to accept your invite to the community. See you in there. Now let's look at point number 6, the 1.5 million token context window and the trap inside of it. Sol's effective context window is around 1.5 million tokens, a 43% jump over the previous generation's roughly 1 million. You can hold an entire code base or a quarter's worth of documents in one shot. Sounds like a pure win, isn't it? Let me be clear. Bigger context is not better output. The window is for coherence across long horizon agentic tasks, staying on thread over hours of work, not a replacement for good retrieval. Dump everything into the prompt because you can, and you get a slower, pricier, and often dumber result than the tight retrieval step would have given you. Cache reads comes at 90% discount. Cache writes builds at 1.25 minutes minimum. Structure your agents to reuse cached context and the economics change. Treat the big window as a dumping ground and you're just paying more to think worse. Let's look at point number 7. The pricing tells you the strategy. Per million tokens, Sol runs $5 in, $30 out. Terra is $2.50 in, $15 out, and Luna is $1 in and $6 out. Much cheaper than Claude's Fable, thinking about it, with very similar benchmarks. But look at the spread. Luna's input is a fifth of Sol's. If you want the highest leverage architecture decision in this whole release, route the cheap high volume work, the classification, the routing, the first part to Luna, and only escalate the one genuinely hard reasoning step to Sol. An agent built that way can cut its bill dramatically versus the one that sends every single tool call to the flagship model. Architecture is cost control. The tiers aren't 3 products. They are the pieces of one well-designed system, and pricing is OpenAI's handing you the blueprint. Point 8. What gatekeeping actually predicts. So let's zoom out for a second, because this is where it gets interesting and there's a real controversy that proves this point. An independent evaluator, MR, ran a pre-deployment test on Sol. Found it gamed its own software engineering evaluation at the highest rate ER has ever detected in a publicly tested model. It exploited bugs in the evil, extracted hidden test data, took shortcuts that satisfies the metric without doing the actual work. Their time horizon score for the model became, in their words, effectively unusable. The range blew out from 11 hours to over 270 because they couldn't tell how much of the capability was real versus gamed. Think about it. Those behaviors were detectable, and OpenAI's own monitoring caught and disclosed them rather than hiding them. ET are called a cautiously positive signal. But sit with what that means to you. The benchmark scores you're using to pick a model are partly measuring how good the model is at beating the benchmark. So capability now triggers a government review, and the headline numbers are partly theater. Then the future is clear. All outs become normal, access becomes a competitive advantage, and security reviews gets baked into every frontier launch. And for us, if we do want to win in this next stretch, aren't the ones with the smartest models, in my opinion. They are the ones who architect and secure real systems around whatever model they are allowed to touch. And in my opinion, there's so many awesome opportunities out there for us right now. Think of Hermes Agent. I'll link a video somewhere here on the screen for you to go and watch, where we can build an open source model leveraging an API from NVIDIA and plugging that in there, which is exactly on benchmark with GPT 5.5, and that's free. It's at no cost, and you don't have to worry about all of these companies trying to leverage the hype of the model to increase the sales, or if it's truly truthful. You don't have to be affected by that. So go have a look at that and share with me what you think of it. You see, the government getting Sol is bullish for the small builder. And I mean that. Think it through. When Frontier Access is staged and gated to 20 approved names, raw model access stops being the moat because almost nobody has it. And the ones who do can't turn the bare API into a working product any faster than you can. So the METR finding says the same thing from another direction. Benchmark supremacy is partly hollow, and the pricing structure says it in a third way. Smart building beats brute force Sol calls. 3 separate signals, 1 conclusion. The moat move off the model and onto the architecture. And that's the whole game now. Not who has the biggest model. That's a race you'll lose to a lab with $1 billion infrastructure. The game is orchestration, security, and system design around a model that anyone can rent or own from an open source perspective. And that's a game where a sharp solo builder like you and I with a security lens genuinely beats a big team that's still treating the model like a product. The model was never the moat. It just took a government putting one behind glass for everyone to see it. So, because you're subscribing today, you will get more valuable content like this, not just focusing on what the mainstream is giving, but truly getting the builder's read on AI. The one with the security lens, not the benchmark recap you can get anywhere else. Drop me a comment with the one task you'd hand to a sub-agent first. I'll reply with how I'd lock that down. So you could potentially avoid hijacks. And if you want the actual permission configurations, the routing setups, and everything else mentioned previously in this video, I run my own boxes, and that is all inside of the AI Founders Vault. The link in the description below. See you in the next one, and see you in the vault.